Thing about being a millennial. It's quite an interesting sort of thing to consider and ponder. There's a lot of buzzwords for millennials in the air right now, which is what retirement, strokes, mental health, meritocracy. These are all maelstroms of the moment. Uh, and there's a starter pack for millennials. And I've noticed this quite often is there's this nostalgia for the era of good feelings, right? Catch flights, not feelings. That sort of gig where it's these catchphrases to try to capture certain moments. And it's accompanied by beer gardens, IG reels, corny inspirational quotes, online dating, that sort of loop, rinse and repeat. And it doesn't seem like people can get out of that maze. Uh, there's too much healing and a lot of toxic positivity. Um, I almost feel like millennials are adult children. They've been infantilized, and they use pets to supplement the fact that they don't have children. Um, a lot of times they fall into the trap of consuming copious amounts of alcohol to deal with that void, right? The tragedy of the times is that you got a lot of, and when they do have children, right, a lot of these like theatrical gender reveals that otherwise would have been private affairs had we not had social media to sort of publicize these things, right? But there is sort of a feeling about being a millennial that's interesting. But more so than that, there's an aesthetic to it that has kind of. I feel like I could be here in Los Angeles, or I can be in Austin, Texas, or I can be in Berlin, Germany, and feel like there's a sort of aesthetic to being millennial, and you can capture it globally, right? Because that's what globalization is. It's the erosion of anything different. And so what you end up seeing is a lot of the same thing, maybe culturally wrapped in a little bit of difference, but nevertheless, it's still the same thing. And so if you are a millennial, you have to ask yourself, why do I just blindly follow sort of these trends? Why am I willingly just accepting what's fed to me? Um, because the reality is, like, I used to go out and I would just be a wall hugger. I didn't want to really engage in a lot of these nocturnal things that people were doing. And there's a little bit of a shift now. There is a little bit more of a need or a demand for more sober spaces. People want late night coffee. People want to be able to chat, maybe a nice little cozy wine bar where there's nice music being played in the background and it's not loud and you can still converse and all these things. But I was just thinking about it because people are over here already thinking about retirement. Like millennials are thinking about retirement. I'm thinking to myself, what in the world is wrong with you? Like the whole idea of retiring is essentially because the data supports this. You're you're essentially sealing your fate because it's like, what does it even mean to retire? The end of work? Well, then you shouldn't be doing something that you're trying to get rid of. If anything, you should keep moving. I have this idea in my mind that I want to die with my shoes on. I don't want to have to know that I'm going out anytime soon. Um, a lot of people, on the other hand, are trying to sort of craft and create a life where everything's already been announced. There are no surprises, and I think that's sort of another problem with the millennial crowd. But I think more than anything else, it's this toxic positivity. It's like this need to heal. A lot of the mental health discourse is kind of leaked into everyday discourse, words like narcissist and love bombing and things like that. And then Gen Z is kind of just taking it to another level, ratcheted up even further, right? And using like these words that shouldn't be thrown around willy nilly like that on the streets anywhere. And you got this therapy talk that's kind of like leaked in and made it so that anybody can weaponize these terms. And anytime you say something that's even remotely disagreeable, and they just shut you down with using these crazy words and label you as such. And I just think that that's like a communication style that's equivalent to being a terrorist, right? Because then at that point, it's like there is nothing more to be said. There's nothing more to be discussed. But yeah, so if you're a millennial, you have to really consider, what route do I go? Finding a sense of place in sort of this culture that's kind of cocooned us, right? We feel sort of trapped by these institutions, right? These beer gardens, these mazes that we can't get out of. But it's something to consider. I would say maybe think about going your own way. It's a lot harder, right? Because you have to craft your own way. Those spaces maybe aren't there, but you got to try to find them. I encourage any millennial to sort of lean into the sober stuff. Um, maybe some spas, more nature stuff, right? Less of the consumptive aspect of IG reels and beer gardens and seed oils and polyester clothing. Stay away from all that fake stuff and try to do something that's more real, more grounded, more in tune with nature. And I think you'll find a happy medium there, if you will. But anyhow, I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next one.